everybody. Welcome to the show. And today we're going to be talking about the coronavirus, which, if you're a driver, should be of some concern to you because as drivers, in a day, we could have 10 people, 20 people. A long day, you could have 30 different people getting into your car. And you're in this tight little metal box and people are breathing. And before you know it, you're breathing each other's air. Kind of gross when you think about it, but that is the case. So, what do you do? What do you do? What do we know? What do we know about this coronavirus, which is now being called COVID-19? COVID-19. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about the coronavirus, what you can do and what you can't do as a driver to do the right thing. So what do we know about this? This is a virus that came from China, and that's primarily where it is now, right? Very little of it has actually seeped out of China. I first heard about this myself when I was in Thailand last month, and somewhere around the middle of the month, I heard about it, and my buddy who came to visit me said, you might be quarantined when you go back to America, because I was going back on the 30th of January, and this thing was just like, there was like a bit of a panic about it. So when I went home, I had a 4-hour layover in Hong Kong. So I flew from Bangkok to Hong Kong, 4 hours, and then to San Francisco. And in Hong Kong, everybody was wearing those masks, those masks to protect yourself from germs. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be in quarantine, and this is going to really mess up my schedule and all that. As it turns out, I landed. I never check luggage, so I just went right through the customs. Showed him my passport like you do, had the little form filled out and walked right out, went outside, breathed that clean California air, and got in an Uber to take me to my car. So I got lucky because now people are much more likely to be quarantined when they land in America if they come from China. So it's a virus. It originated in an animal. It seems they think now it came not from a bat. So some of these viruses have come from bats. People actually eat bats, but they think it came from a snake. So somebody was eating snake, and that wasn't so good for the snake, nor was it good for us human beings. So it's mostly happening in China. Our government has acted very swiftly and strongly, and they're not letting people, if you're coming from China, you're going to be tested, and if you've been over in China, you may be quarantined in China, or when you come back, you may be quarantined here. They say it takes 14 days for it to show up in the body, so that's why the number you keep hearing is 14-day quarantine, because they want to make sure you don't have it. So that's the situation. Now, when I wrote this article, it was interesting. I wrote an article for the rideshare guy, and at that point, it was about 2% of the people were dying from this. So if 100 people got sick, two to three would die. So it's not like it's if you get it, you're going to die. If you get it and you're young, or you get it and you're old, then you could have some complications which could lead to death. But a very small percentage actually die. And as of that writing, I wrote that on February 11th. So that was a week ago. There were 40,000 people that had reported being sick in China, and 1,000 of those people had died. Today, 1 week later, I just went to look it up. And now, a week later, the number has gone from 40,000 to 73,000. So that tells you how contagious this is. All right. And then out of those people, 1,873. So 873 more people have died. Now, the percentage is still under 3%. It's 2.6% of the people that got sick have died so far. So this is something that can spread quickly, and it is spreading primarily in China. All right. So that's what's going on. The bit about the airport that you need to understand is that people who could have this are being stopped and tested, and if necessary, quarantined. So there's not this flood of people coming into America that have the coronavirus that can spread it. So your concern that someone's going to get into your car and sneeze on you and make you sick with this is unfounded. All right, there just aren't. There's like a small number of cases in America, and our number is not growing because our government has done a really good job of keeping people that could possibly have it tested and out of the country in some cases, and quarantined in other cases. All right, so there's like a panic about it, and I think people are now realizing that in our country, it's not as bad as the media was kind of leading you to believe. You know, the media likes to be very sensational, very clickbaity, and that's what was happening here. So the reason I want to emphasize that is because there have been articles written about Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, rideshare drivers, discriminating against Asian passengers, feeling that they could have the virus, so they're not picking them up in their car. So hopefully by now, if you've listened to the facts, you realize that's just not the case. That's not doesn't even make any sense, right? Because you don't know if somebody. I mean, I just came back from Hong Kong. I'm more likely to have coronavirus than just somebody who happens to be Asian who hasn't left the country in the last 2 months. So, and discriminating for that like that is just wrong, right? It's an ugly, ignorant thing to be doing. So don't discriminate against passengers because they're Asian, because as I've laid out pretty concretely, they're not going to have the coronavirus. Likewise, some passengers have discriminated against Asian drivers, right? They see somebody in the front seat who's driving who's Asian, and they're saying, "No, I'll get another car." So it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Now, one interesting thing that I learned about the masks, I was listening to this podcast, and it was this guy who wrote a book called Spillover, and the topic is about animal-based viruses, right? And he was sharing about masks, and he said the masks are good if you're sick and you want to, not spread your germs on other people. So if you're sick and you're coughing, it's going into the mask, right? It's not going out into the public. But he said in terms of prevention, they're not that useful. In fact, the quote he said was, "Being educated and understanding it and being ready to respond and support government response is very useful. Panicking and putting on your surgical mask every time you go on a subway ride, an airplane, is not nearly as useful." And he said he does not wear a mask. Okay, so that said a lot to me, and it made me realize that walking around with a mask on isn't really going to help me avoid getting sick. They're just not that useful for that. They are useful for if you are sick, keeping your germs away from other people. So I found that interesting because I was at the airport a week from Sunday, and I saw a driver drive by. He was dropping somebody off. He got out of the car and helped with the luggage, but he had a mask on. And I started to think, how would I feel if I were a passenger getting into a car with a driver that had a mask on? I would think the driver thinks he might be sick, and that's why he's wearing the mask. Because again, the mask is best when you're sick, and it prevents germs from spreading from your mouth out to other people. And that would make me feel a little uncomfortable, So I don't recommend you wear a mask. Based on what experts are saying, it doesn't seem like it's doing what you think it's going to do, and it might have some other impact on your passengers, which you don't want, right? Now, what have Uber and Lyft done? They have done nothing so far. They've made no statement. Let's see. Let me look at I'm going to look right now at my Uber app and see if I have any notifications about this thing. Nope, there's an update about my tax documents. How satisfied am I with pool? Choose your quest. Nothing about the coronavirus. Now let's see if I look at my LYFT app. I don't think they've made any comment either. Protect your flexibility. So that's they want me to click on that to support them in their anti-AB5 campaign, and refer a driver, and that's it. All right. So they're not saying anything, which I think is a lost opportunity for Uber and Lyft, because they could really be leaders and bring some sanity to the situation. As it is, people like me are writing articles and other people are writing articles, and we're trying to bring some, facts about the situation, so that drivers are not out there panicked, thinking they're gonna get sick. So the key takeaways here: the coronavirus is very real. Only let's say at the most, three out of 100 people are actually dying from the virus. So even if you get it, odds are very, very good. It's just going to be like a flu, and it's going to pass. There's no need to panic, because we're doing a great job here in America of keeping people who could be infected out of the country. And if they are here, they're being quarantined so that they are not contagious by the time they're back mixing with the public. You can do things like washing your hands. I also suggest you be aware of your conversation. So I don't talk about the coronavirus. I tried talking about it, and I realized people just got kind of creeped out and uncomfortable. So you don't talk about sex, religion, politics, and let's add a number 4, the coronavirus. So keep those 4 things out of your conversation, and your rides will be much, much smoother. I don't recommend you wear a mask. And what I'm doing is I'm just going out and driving like it's any other day, and enjoying my passengers and the sunshine, and driving as safe as I can, as carefully as I can, playing my jazz music, listen to a little Miles Davis. And that's all you need to be doing too. So that's A to Z on the coronavirus and its impact on rideshare drivers. I hope that helped. I appreciate you guys coming around. All right. That's a wrap. Fist bump to all you drivers out there. You all rock it out there every day. I honor you. Doing great work. Thank you for sharing your journey with me. Be safe out there. This is Nomad Jay saying this episode is in the can.